All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to today's educational program, Transforming Operations, How IIoT Creates Real-Time Visibility for Manufacturing, brought to you by IIoT World and sponsored by PTC. I'm Lucian Fogoros, the co-founder of IIoT World. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Greg Orloff, the Senior Analyst and Chief Innovation Officer, our host for the virtual conference. And on behalf of our team, thank you for joining. Our co-founder, Karolina Rudinsky, will monitor the online channels, so feel free to send your question in the chat line via our social channels using the hashtag found IIoT World. A follow-up article based on your questions is also planned. So Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Lucian, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to today's virtual conference. For those of you joining us for the first time, IIoT World is a digital media publication that covers the economic and technological implications of the transformation taking place as industrial IoT proliferates throughout the enterprise. IIoT World combines journalistic coverage with data analysis to expose the stories, players, trends, and innovations that shape the industrial Internet of Things. IIoT World is recently ranked by K-Core Analytics as the #1 global influencer on several topics that include industrial IoT, smart manufacturing, ICS security, SCADA, predictive analytics, and predictive maintenance. IIoT World's mission is to help companies create a culture of innovation and connect the smarts, industrial technology, manufacturing, sensors, and the CXO decision makers. Today we have an exciting panel discussion that includes thought leaders from Deloitte and PTC. In this 190-minute virtual conference, our speakers will discuss creating real-time visibility in manufacturing operations and delivering the right information at the right time to the right person. The first session is entitled Industrial IoT Innovations, Technology Trends and Applications. Our speaker is Mahesh Chandramouli, Industrial IoT Technology Leader for Deloitte Consulting LLP. In this session, Mahesh will provide you with insights on how industrial IoT is increasing adoption of cloud computing in the industrial sector, innovations in the industrial space, and the technology trends that are enabling these things to occur. Mahesh has extensive experience delivering IoT strategies, solutions, and delivery engagements. He has helped enterprises fulfill their digital transformations and unlock new opportunities using industrial Internet of Things applications. Mahesh's areas of focus include CXO advisory services, digital transformation, enterprise information strategy, solutions architecture, disruptive analytics, information governance, and large-scale solution delivery. Irrespective of where the enterprise is on their digital journey, Mahesh can help deliver the business outcome with the right solutions and strategies. So without further ado, please, Mahesh, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Mahesh Chandramouli. I am today going to focus on specifically around how the digital and the physical boundaries are converging closer and closer, and what type of innovations happening in that place, and then how these new technology trends are evolving in that space, and what type of digital capabilities it's enabling through applications, and then how it's impacting the connected operations space, and how you can get started in this journey is what the focus is going to be. As you see, the digital and the physical world is getting closer and closer. The physical worlds are historically being unconnected and therefore largely not visible to business leaders. So for business leaders who are accustomed to traditional linear data and communication, the shift to real-time access to data and intelligent fundamentally transforms the way they conduct business. The real-time access to data and intelligence is fundamentally driven by the continuous and a cyclic flow of information and actions between the physical and the digital worlds. This flow occurs through an iterative series of 3 steps, collectively known as the physical to digital, digital to digital, and digital back to physical loop. In the first stage, the physical to digital information is captured from the physical world to create a digital record. It's primarily you have sensors mounted on an equipment, and then it's sending data, and then it's creating a digital record of that data. Then that data gets analyzed into the digital to digital stage to draw meaningful insights. This is where AI, cognitive computing, advanced analytics, taking the data, and then how do we take the data and convert into information and insights. In the final stage, the digital to physical, uh, it's primarily around actions, right? You take those insights and change in the physical world and inform and make it as an action. The result is a more flexible system capable of adapting to and learning from changes in the environment. As manufacturing organizations evolve, information clusters will likely move from separate silos to free-flowing, integrated information supported by interconnected technology solutions. In traditional supply chains, data tend to be siloed in a separate information clusters. And customer engagement, sales, all those things are going to be in kept separately from each other, where none of them can inform each other. This can often lead to missed opportunities as organizations cannot see where these areas intersect or align. As you see in the graph, it's an evolution around the way we think about system of innovation is disrupting a typical technology approach, right? So what we have is, you see in the slide, is the three buckets: system of records, your traditional ERP, your resource management system, your process historians; system of differentiation, which is primarily your MES, process control system, Dutch CMMS, uh, which creates the system of differentiation. And then you have the system of innovation, your industrial IoT, your AR/VR, your predictive modeling tools and other stuff, right? As you see in the graph, when you do a typical technology rollout, it peaks up, and then what happens is the value gets declined over time, which is what you're seeing from a typical system of records, a system of differentiation types of technology rollouts. And then also your automation is also going to be part of that, but automation, once you automate it, it's going to be a stagnant straight line. But what happens with the system of innovation is you're gonna basically create a technology rollout, and then you're going to have insights of different insights, and then what it's going to do is it's going to take you to an incremental journey, and that incremental journey is going to help you evolve, so it's not going to decline over time. Specifically, system of innovation such as IoT, cloud, are disrupting the typical approach to the technology rollout. While systems used to be static and built for a point in purpose, these system of innovation allows for a more dynamic rollout that can evolve, and as time passes and condition changes, it is going to provide more value. Legacy systems were difficult not only to support but also to maintain and repurpose, since they are unable to evolve over time. Innovative technologies such as industrial IoT and cloud and edge allow for rapid deployment, but also for future changes in response to insights gathered from earlier rollouts. These dynamic technologies allow teams to go back and revisit the system to measure and adapt to a change to better serve its purpose. Here, we're going to focus on three different technology trends. There are multiple technology trends that are happening in this space, but I just wanted to highlight three critical, important backbone technology trends, which we all need to think about it. Specific to the availability of insights and the speed of data processing and enabling real-time visibility to data. one is cloud. I think it's now everybody talks about cloud, and then everybody talks about data centers available to many users over the internet, right? But I want to be very specific to what are the advantages we can get with manufacturing with the enablement of the cloud computing, right? So number one is your computational horsepower, because computing capacity isn't tied to a physical infrastructure and the capacity on demand is possible. There is a big benefit of doing rigorous predictive modeling, both at the edge as well as on the cloud. Like you basically compute in the cloud and infer at the edge. Two is the scalability, which is from data syncing between multiple sites, network-wide visibility, and then the benefits across your ERP, consistent throughout your ERP, and then the data flows through in a consistent way, and then also reduced CapEx expenditure because there's no physical infrastructure is required, which also allows you to store more data at a very cheaper, and then the compute is also going to be faster in terms of computing these type of high complex algorithms. So one area of focus is going to be on the cloud, which is a lot of people are going to focus on, especially in the industrial IoT sector. Two is going to be your 5G. It's 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 the pervasive mobility, like which supports for 10x to 100x more devices, primarily for IoT, because if you have more sensors, you're going to connect more. Your target's high data rate. You want to make sure that you have reduced latency. You have energy saving options. You need to reduce costs, and also you need to have a massive device connectivity, right? So 5G is going to enable some of the key pieces around end-to-end latency, network reliability, and it's also going to enable a lot of business applications, which was not possible because which capitalizing on real-time data and visibility. Like think about like localized services and wait times, like to allow travelers to track predicted wait times. You can capture that type of data on 5G mobile devices when people are inside a particular airport or a building. Of any fast moving object generating a large amount of data that needs low latency connections. So there's a multiple examples, right? You have self-driving cars is one, robots is another one. You have transportation, trains and other things where you need to send at a low latency connections, and also enhanced location sensing. Like you're going to get more precise indoor location GPS. Exact location is going to be it's going to be possible because the thing is it's going to enable the location sensing in a different way, and there are a lot of applications in this space is going to be evolved. And the third big piece, which is everybody is thinking, like especially the cloud providers, a cloud is not the only way. I cannot send all the data to my cloud. I need something to compute at the edge. And if you think about all the major providers, they're also focusing a lot towards on the edge, and the edge computing becoming like in a simple terms, it's computing that's done at or near the source of the data instead of relying or on the private or the public cloud, which is sitting in many data centers to do all the work. So the biggest piece of this edge computing is going to be your signal to noise ratio is going to be reduced. The latency is you're not relying on an external network, so you can run these things on the plant, and you can run some real-time analytics on that. And what the prediction is also, right, there is an increased demands of doing processing at the edge, so that you are aggregating specific to a demand-driven type of scenarios where your aggregations are going to happen at the edge. And the prediction also says that 50% of the enterprise generated data will be created and processed outside the data center or the cloud. And it's going to be a significant change in terms of how these industrial IoT architectures are going to evolve, and edge computing plays a very critical role into that. Here, I'm going to talk about what are these emerging technologies and applications are, and what applications are going to be enabled uh, within this digital space, right? So as you see, uh, this is specific to real-time visibility, right? So there's a lot of these applications are going to be enabled. So I'm just, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover at a high level on each of those 6 things you see. Number 1 is smart factory, right? Smart factory is a big space, and there's a lot of applications are going to enable like predictive maintenance, which requires real-time data from sensors, PLCs, and taking that data and processing that data, and then building some models around that to predict the failure of a particular part in that machine. 2 is track and trace solutions are going to evolve a lot in the smart factory space. Then you're going to have the intelligent supply, right? So you're going to have control towers type of things in digital supply network world, where you're going to have plant leadership have a visibility to the entire plant. We also have got some synchronized planning because the supply chain, the digital supply chain is going to evolve, and your boundaries are going to be pushed with real-time data like demand-based sensing. Based on the demand, it automatically does your planning stuff. And then the 4th piece which you're seeing here is around the fulfillment and how it can dynamically fulfill, like in terms of predictive routing, in terms of direct to user deliveries, and how AR can enable in terms of fulfillment, in terms of pick a pack solutions where you have AR glasses going there, it's sending you real-time information into your field of view. There's also a lot of things happening on the digital development side, like when you're making products, how these products are going to be embedded with sensors, how you can track much more granular data when these products are in the field, and then how it also connects to the customer and the aftermarket so that you have full traceability. And these applications are enabling at a very rapid rate with real-time data. So what I'm highlighting here is I want to focus on a couple of uh, key important use cases or applications within the manufacturing, within the 4 walls of the factory, which leverages real-time data and how these innovations are transforming the manufacturing operations. So one is your predictive maintenance, which is very proven now. That with the help of industrial IoT and advanced analytics, you basically collect data from these assets. The advanced analytics can be used to monitor your asset health based on the sensor readings, your FEMA analysis, and then what it does is it basically takes all that data, predicts the failure ahead of time so that the maintenance can be notified well in advance so that those specific parts can be replaced in time to avoid any catastrophic failures of that machine, which are critical to the manufacturing process. Quick example is think about a vibration sensor installed on a grinder blades, which is analyzing and detecting anomalies. Because if the grinder blade fails, it's going to have a catastrophic effect to the whole line. So how do we avoid that downtime, and then predicting the wear and tear of the blades using algorithms and data science, and then informing as an alert to a maintenance engineer to act on it. 2 is asset track and intelligence. So this is a common problem where biggest thing is like, hey, I don't know where my part is. Like, how do I find the location? How do I know exactly where my part, whether it's in the warehouse, whether it's in the factory, whether it's in the inventory areas? Like it can be a very different thing. So simple sensors and capturing data around that, it's going to allow the visibility, real-time visibility to your assets. And then when you have the maintenance done on these assets, it's going to be very quick to do it. So the next slide is going to be focusing on the increased availability of real-time insights and data that is specific around like a predictive replenishment. So think about a case like an asset health or, uh, or a a measurement system that automatically reorders. So if you think about the automatic reorders, which you can build on top of it using sensor data. So this would allow you to replenish based on real-time data. It automatically replenish your materials, right? So one example can be your predictive maintenance software tells that the pump is likely to fail in the next month. So it automatically creates a work order. The work order gets associated to a maintenance person, as well as it also creates what are all the parts required to do that work order. And once all the parts are at that place or at that premise, then the maintenance engineer gets notified to do the maintenance job. Two is around the digital twin, right? So digital twin is another very important topic which is evolving in the industrial IoT space, right? How it's in a simple term, it's a physical representation of a digital, it's a digital representation of the physical world. Thinking about how we can create a system to drive feedback, right? So it's primarily around that. So these are some things which is connecting those three loops. If you think about those three loops are very important when you're doing these type of applications. So how do we get started on this journey, right? It's very important, right? With now the real-time information and insights can be shared across your entire network. And now the organizations are making decisions, more data-driven decisions and more actionable decisions. So there's the three ways you can think about it, right? So it's about how do we think big, so which is basically around when you think about think big, it's within a firm, how and why, what are the business objectives, how you have to think about immersing yourself in innovation, like exploring the art of the possibilities to push the organizations to understand the applications of various technologies and the potential impact to the business, and building a digital maturity to understand what might be feasible. So it's very important that it's to push the envelope is very important, and having that big idea is important. And how do you get started small, right? The journey of a thousand miles begins with a single step, right? So consider ways to make that transition to digital manufacturing a manageable and a realistic one. Think about scaling at the edges. Like at times, it makes sense to start with smaller stakes where strategies can be tested and refined with relatively fewer consequences. Selecting projects at the edge of the organizations can provide great latitude of building capabilities and also can help individuals feel less afraid to fail, which ultimately leads to greater innovation. The other thing would be start with one or two transformation and be very specific around value. And then how do you hack or scale fast, right? So do not wait for perfect, right? Exponential growth techniques are rapidly evolving, requires constant iterations. Establishing a competitive advantage that requires the willingness to join the fray, but you should also do it quickly. So, right, so how do we make it prove that it works? And small success can serve as proof points and leading to a greater willingness to take a chance of more substantial investments. Market your success is very key, but once you success generates success. So just getting focused and building those dynamic teams within your organizations and creating the blend of cross-functional capabilities is going to help to drive fast. I think I had covered in 15 minutes on various different topics around how you can think about it. I'm more than happy to if you have any questions, more than happy to answer it. Or if you can want to reach out to me privately, you can reach out to me privately via my emails too.
Thank you, Mahesh. Our next session is entitled Real-Time Visibility in Operations Using IIoT. Our speaker is Jordan Chasen, Manager of Product Management at PTC. In this session, you will hear from Jordan firsthand why it pays to create real-time visibility in manufacturing. You'll learn how IIoT can lower costs, increase operational performance, and improve product quality. Real-time visibility examples enabled by industrial IoT including production monitoring, asset performance monitoring, workforce monitoring, and KPIs. Best practices for implementing industrial IoT from both strategic and practical perspectives, as well as case studies from manufacturers across a variety of industries. Jordan is a product manager for the ThingWorx Manufacturing Apps division of PTC. Her responsibilities include ensuring a great user experience for all products, defining manufacturing use cases, and overseeing PTC's newly expanded free trial program. Before joining PTC, Jordan was a senior technical product manager at GE, responsible for delivering software solutions from ideation to implementation, spanning corporate to factory initiatives. She has a bachelor's degree in management from information systems and an executive degree in business administration from the Keller School of Business at Indiana University. Welcome, Jordan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about how industrial IoT drives real-time visibility and how you can leverage PTC technology to identify the right use cases and areas of opportunity for you to leverage real-time visibility to improve your operation. I'll start by giving a little bit of background on PTC. PTC is a global software company that's headquartered in Boston, Mass, where we've recently relocated to the Seaport Innovation District. PTC has industry-leading solutions leveraging cutting-edge technology such as IoT platform, AR solutions, and CAD and PLM solutions. Our technology and our solutions vary from engineering through manufacturing and down to service. We have 28,000 active customers and 6,000 employees deployed globally. At PTC, we believe that industrial disruption is accelerating with this new wave of digital transformation. When we look at digital transformation and the industrial waves that we've seen over the past, we can track some of these by looking at the changes that we're seeing in industries from water power, mass production, to the introduction of computers, connectivity, and automation, to where we are today, where we're able to leverage new types of technology such as IoT, artificial intelligence and analytics, additive manufacturing, mixed reality, human-machine collaboration, and autonomous systems. All of this digital disruption is impacting the way that we manufacture and service the products that our world uses today. So at PTC, what we focus on is how can we bring solutions to market that will help our customers leverage the new capabilities and keep up with this digital disruption against competition and emerging markets to transform some of their businesses. At PTC, we believe that this transformation is not just in one area of the business, but it impacts the entire value chain. We're seeing it begin in engineering, where we're focused solutions on digital product platforms that allow continuous innovation and real-time simulation of product-centric collaboration and allowing our customers to have a closed-loop product lifecycle from engineering all the way down the value chain. We're also seeing transformation in sales and marketing and in manufacturing and supply chain, where we focus on having an optimized plant, asset, and worker productivity, leveraging new types of technology to increase throughput, ensure quality, compliance, and reduce operating costs, all while improving that real-time visibility to help identify these areas of opportunity. We're also seeing changes in the way that customer operations are focused on transforming them through remote monitoring, remote access and control, while leveraging these new technologies such as predictive analytics and giving customers more self-service into the way that they understand the data from what they're purchasing. We're also seeing breakthrough reductions in service costs to improve that customer intimacy and provide a better customer experience by leveraging technology in new ways for performance, availability, and remote service. This ultimately is all rolling up to the corporate and CXO office of multiple different kinds of companies by providing them the right amount of data, modernizing their workforce, and just allowing them to disrupt traditional markets with new business models such as product as a service. When we boil it down to manufacturing specifically, though, there are some current situations in the factory with the existing infrastructure and the way it's always been. We see in manufacturing that many companies follow the ISA 95 model, and we can see that this infrastructure exists across many factories. This infrastructure is set up in a way to allow factories to successfully run their operations. However, it has many challenges that come with it. These challenges include highly complex environments, multiple vendors and different types of systems, a mix of modern and legacy products, and rigid systems that really lack an amount of flexibility and poor interoperability to share data between all of these siloed systems. What does this mean for the workers on the manufacturing shop floor? Well, as it pertains to real-time visibility, it's really the fact that the right people are not getting the right data at the right time. They have out-of-date operational visibility. They're being reactive in terms of their maintenance. They're experiencing lots of unplanned downtime with no way to identify the root cause or the analysis of this downtime, and a lack of flexibility in how their workers choose to work with the systems that are given to them on their shop floor. This is especially tricky as we start to see an emerging skills gap of workers on the shop floor that need to be trained in an accelerated way and get data from multiple systems in an accelerated way, which is also having a struggle for companies to see time to value and new product introduction. At PTC, our focus is on acceleration, simplification, and agility for the factories. Our perspective is not that you need to rip and replace all of the existing systems that you have in your manufacturing environment. PTC's technology takes a wrap and extend approach, where we take our orchestration platform and our experience platform to wrap around the existing systems to connect them. This allows our customers to start to engage with different types of data, orchestrate that data to then analyze it and start to drive insights from it, and then contextualize it for individuals to understand exactly what it is they're looking at and start to take action from it. This impacts the plant floor workers across plant and corporate management, maintenance engineers, quality engineers, and operators by providing them role-based applications that are flexible enough for them to determine the right data that they need to see at the right time. These connected systems allow them to get real-time insights and can allow them to start to do more predictive and prescriptive analytics so that they can stop doing reactive maintenance and they can start planning for some of that unplanned downtime to prevent it. We also provide them mobile and augmented experiences with our new technology, such as the ThingWorx platform and augmented reality, that really focuses on that wrap and extend innovation so they can bring products to market faster and drive new efficiencies in their manufacturing environments. Real-time visibility for operations and workers can be boiled down into some of the key advantages that customers who deploy real-time visibility use cases will start to see. It helps them prevent unplanned downtime by giving operators the information they need to proactively prevent and correct machine malfunctions. That way, they can understand exactly when the machine is going to go down and how they can take action to stop that before it disrupts production. Real-time visibility increases product quality and process innovation by helping them troubleshoot, correct, and innovate in real time. This in turn gives an advantage over your competition by giving your organization a more marketplace flexibility and more accelerated time to market. It gives real-time connections to machine data and business systems so your workers can become more productive by showing them the data that's coming off of their machines and contextualizing that with information from various business systems. And by providing real-time alerts, you're able to improve communication and safety awareness to proactively go against compliance anomalies and environmental health and safety risks. We know that safety is one of the top concerns on the manufacturing shop floor, so these real-time visibility alerts help you prevent some of those risks. There are various ways that you can apply new digital transformation and disruptive technologies to help you get those real-time visibility use cases and start to identify areas of opportunity in your manufacturing environment. We do that with our ThingWorx and augmented reality experiences here at PTC. We have our ThingWorx platform that includes industrial connectivity to get machine connection and data from the machines on your shop floor. It includes things like analytics and pre-built accelerators that help you get these role-based applications deployed in a quick time to market. We also leverage Vuforia augmented reality to help deliver digital context in the physical space to help improve the visibility to your workforce on the shop floor. This, combined with our ecosystem of the PTC Marketplace and our vast partner network, allows PTC to bring to market technologies that will help our customers in an accelerated and high-value way. Oftentimes, when we have a discussion about industrial IoT and a platform, there's ways that customers can identify where to start and how to get going. At PTC, we've identified those with some of our innovation suite powered by PTC applications that are built on the ThingWorx platform. These include accelerators that are intended to be the building blocks and the basis for our customers to start seeing value based on real use cases that we're seeing in the market today. This includes ThingWorx Operator Advisor, excuse me, which is focused on enabling the workforce to get things like digital connectivity and using augmented reality to improve their quality and productivity by taking typically paper-based, out-of-date information and giving it to them in a digital context. We also have ThingWorx Controls Advisor, which helps remotely monitor and troubleshoot machine connectivity, giving them visibility into the health and connection status of their assets. On top of that, we have ThingWorx Asset Advisor, which allows customers to remotely monitor physical assets in real time and automatically detect anomalies. We also have Production Advisor, which gives real-time visibility into the production process and line performance, into some of the critical KPIs and OEE on the shop floor. As part of one of our strategic partnerships, we also have a partnership with Rockwell Automation with connection into their FactoryTalk MES system and bringing to market a new analytics offering. We're seeing customers leveraging PTC's technology in real ways. Now I'll share a couple of examples of customers that we're seeing using real-time visibility in their manufacturing operations to drive real results. This case study is focused on a large automotive tier one supplier who operates reflow ovens to create printed circuit boards. In order to maintain quality and consistent production, specific parts of the oven are regulated via air intake. Using PTC technology, technicians are now notified when these readings are operating outside of the designed threshold. They're using an alarm method that gives them real time and allows them to be proactive to issues rather than reactive. This model predicts O2 or air intake alarms 1 day sooner than they would have, with 91% accuracy. This application took about 3 weeks to complete, from data ingestion, manipulation, to model building and mashup development using our ThingWorx platform. With the new models in place, this large automotive supplier is about to predict alarm states with this 91% accuracy, and they plan to apply more ThingWorx capabilities to use other use cases and scale out rapidly. Another customer example that we have here is HeroTech. HeroTech is deploying the ThingWorx platform to get a better understanding of what exactly is happening on their shop floor, with the goal of increasing their automation. HeroTech believes that IoT isn't just about receiving information, but making automated suggestions and then taking action on it. The initial project with HeroTech had machines of different types and different data available, and different ways of them getting that data. They've connected their machines through Kepware that helps them collect the data about various protocols and sends it to the cloud, where PTC ThingWorks is doing analytics and data visualization. They took a very agile approach to their development, where they started small with small projects in 6-week sprints. They're then starting to tie this out to other existing business systems, such as ERP, to start doing some real-time scheduling and parts of their machines on the shop floor. They have big plans for this IoT effort, and they plan to scale this out, but their entire goal was focused on a better understanding of what's happening on the shop floor. Some of the results that HeroTech is seeing through their ThingWorks deployment is improved visibility into their manufacturing processes, better understanding of why robots and other assets on the shop floor break unexpectedly, and they did a successful proof of concept in one plant, which allowed them to start small, test some of their validation, and roll out. Industry 4.0 data is unlocking new value for our customers in many different ways, as you can see with our case studies of HeroTech and other customers at PTC. We're seeing things like improved OEE with real-time equipment analysis based on the most up-to-date data, so maintenance teams can get the root cause of downtime and other inefficiencies, and even prevent that downtime through predictive data analysis. We're seeing more in-depth performance and quality metrics. With an industrial IoT platform, they're able to get real-time views into metrics of all kinds that can be embedded into the production process. We're seeing refined compliance awareness and safety, as well as workforce efficiency and accuracy. With the workforce, integrated data from multiple sources helps eliminate the manual process of data collection, along with helping simplify and automate tasks that are often prone to human error. This data is not only more timely, but it's also more accurate for the workforce. We're also seeing a competitive advantage at the corporate level, with real-time data helping upper management forecast and prepare for the expected and unexpected, from current process gaps to future strategic planning. All of this is made possible through advanced technology with simple administration, as IoT helps streamline the communication between the IT and the OT departments across the enterprise without putting a burden on the IT team. With the out-of-the-box connectivity, user-friendly accelerators and applications, real-time data availability increases while reliance on IT and other systems that are disconnected decreases. And all of this is made possible through PTC technology.
Our next session is entitled ROI for IIoT in Manufacturing. Today's final speaker is Justin Hester, Digital Transformation Director at PTC. In this session, you'll learn how to create a roadmap for success with your organization's digital transformation, best practices to help you drive a value-based digital transformation through your organization, and real-world examples of how manufacturers are realizing value with their digital transformation. In Justin's role at PTC, he is responsible for helping organizations realize value with their digital transformation journeys. Prior to joining PTC, he was a manager at a leading Tier 1 automotive supplier, where he led a global team responsible for creating and executing their digital transformation for both their Tier 1 automotive production and automotive tooling groups. Justin has over 14 years of experience in bringing advanced and innovative manufacturing processes to marketplaces, ranging from aerospace to automotive. Justin brings a unique value to IIoT from his experiences in both production facility leadership and large production tooling launches. Justin currently holds an MBA, a MS in Industrial and Systems Engineering, and a BS of Computer Engineering. Justin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and have an opportunity to speak to everyone. So as we saw in Jordan's presentation, we truly are in the age of digital transformation. And actually, I'll take it a step forward to say that digital transformation is everywhere we look in the industry. We're all getting digitally transformed and everything is digitally transforming. And we're playing a real expensive game here. In fact, in 2018, IDC reported that discrete and process manufacturers spent about $346 billion, that's with a B, on digital transformation in just that year alone, which is looking at around 0.4% of company revenue is being spent just on digital transformation activities, which would be great except for a small problem. I don't know if you know who Tom Goodwin is, but if you've ever heard the term, the largest taxi company in the world doesn't own any taxis and it's Uber, or the largest hotel firm in the world doesn't own any hotels, Tom's the one who actually coined that phrase. And actually just recently on LinkedIn, he had this quote, and I love it. And he said, some studies show that 8 out of 10 companies are undergoing digital transformation. Like we said, the whole world's going through digital transformation, which I'd applaud if I had any confidence that anyone knew what it meant. And that's truly what's going on here, is that we're stuck in a world of buzzwords and digital transformation, but I don't know that any of us really know what digital transformation means. And so a lot of you out there are probably feeling this pain of where you've started some type of digital transformation activity, and you're probably part of this equation right here, which is NT plus OO equals EOO. What that is new technology plus old organizations or old operations, either way, equals expensive old organizations or expensive old operations. And that's truly what I think a lot of us have run into. And I know myself, I ran into that as well in my previous roles, where you apply some new technology to digitally transform, but you don't look at the entire organization or the entire operation that you're looking to change or refresh or transform. And what you end up doing is just spending more money to do the same thing. One of the examples we may talk about is paperless reporting. Right? And we say, well, paperless reporting, I'm just going to put some reports on an iPad. And when you think about just putting some reports on an iPad, the only way that's different than printing it on some paper is that you bought expensive iPads to put the report on instead of low-cost paper. And so how do we get out of this? Well, to start that conversation, I love this quote by PTC CEO Jim Heppelmann. He said, the goal is not to become a digital company. Instead, for industrial companies to capitalize on digital technologies to defend and advance their competitive advantage. And that's really what it is. We can't fly digital airplanes. At the end of the day, we still need to build airplanes to fly them and ride in them. And for a majority of you out there, you're not looking to become a digital company. You do what you do very well. And instead, what we need to transition away from this idea of you becoming a digital company and transition to this idea of how can you drive value or new revenue streams inside your organization with these new digital solutions. And so the way that we do that is by starting to find a path to value. We need to get out of that POC purgatory that we're stuck in, where we're just doing proofs of technological concept that cost a lot of money, and instead move to an idea of POVs, proofs of value. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that here. And so we say, okay, I think we all agree that we're stuck as an industry in this POC purgatory, and you're saying, I agree with you. That's what I'm seeing today. So what do I do about it? Well, first off, where does some of the value lie? And what I would argue is if you look at the physical world, generally we have a good handle of what value can come out of the physical world. And if you look at the digital world, we generally have a good understanding of the value that can come out of the digital world. And of course, things are changing every day. New technologies come out, but generally we understand what's going on there. In Industry 4.0, where the real value lies is every time that we can cross that barrier. Anytime that we can break from the physical world into the digital world, and then even better if we can break back into the physical world from that digital world, the more times we can cross that barrier, the more times we're going to drive new value that was unrecognized or undiscoverable or unobtainable in the past. And so how do we do that? Well, at PTC, we say that you do that by focusing in 3 areas. And the first is on products. And we say, look, can you drive new business outcomes by changing the way you design products, by changing the way your products interact with your customers, and even changing the way that your products get serviced and their overall life in your customers' hands? Second, let's look at revolutionizing the processes inside your organization. And so what you saw earlier from Jordan's presentation was talking about how can you bring in some visibility to the processes inside your organization. And so we say focus on the processes inside your organization and revolutionizing those processes. And third, and most important, I would argue, is the people. And there's no coincidence that people's at the center of this diagram you see here. I think this is another area where in the industry, we've somewhat made a mistake and we haven't concentrated on people. As we concentrate on people in this digital transformation, will really drive business outcomes and value. And so as we look at a digital transformation and how to drive value, the human-centric part is really the key. And so I'm hoping you can do a quick exercise with me. What I want you to do is close your eyes and imagine when I say IoT or IIoT or digital transformation, what does it look like to you? And with your eyes closed, you're going to probably see some type of diagram of a robot or a conveyor belt or some other machinery. And you probably see some diagrams of computers or servers or databases, maybe some cell phones in there, an iPad. And then you're going to see the famous Wi-Fi symbol and the famous Wi-Fi symbol showing the connectivity of everything. But what I'm pretty positive you don't see in that image is people. And I think we all would agree too that the most important part or most valuable part of your organization are those people. But we've left them out of that mind image that you just had there. And so I think this is how we've gotten stuck in this POC purgatory. Another reason is because we've cut people out of this digital transformation. And instead, I would argue what we need to do is put them back at the center. And we can do that with things like AR, which gives them new interactions into the digital transformation solutions we put in place. So some of the things that you saw Jordan presenting are great as we put them interacting with the human, giving visibility to the human. And then we add another layer, which is augmented reality, which now the human can actually interact with the data in real time, in the situation, in context. And so by focusing on the human, where do we go next? So we say, okay, I'm going to put humans at the center of every activity I do in my digital transformation. But so what? Now what? Well, now what I'd suggest is that you focus on shareholder value. And by focusing on shareholder value, we can look at three different areas: asset efficiency, operating margins, and revenues. And so when we talk about asset efficiency, let's focus on how can we monitor what our assets are doing. So look even inside your own factories. Do you know that every single machine across all your factories and all your operations are on or off? Can you tell in real time if they're all running or making parts, or if they're down for repair? Let's start there, understanding what's going on inside your facilities. And once we start monitoring that, then we can start driving better asset efficiency. Also, let's start looking at maintenance. Let's better understand the maintenance that's going on inside your facilities. Again, driving towards higher asset efficiencies, which has a direct impact on your shareholder value. When we look at the overall factory, let's go up a level from our assets. We look at the overall factory. Let's concentrate our digital transformation efforts on what's actually going on in the factory process-wise. So this goes back to where we talked about focus on processes. Let's look inside our factory at eliminating paper or paperless reporting and instead go towards digital live reporting with digital transformation solutions. Let's look at getting the right data to the right person at the right time. Again, driving back to the human side. But as we do that, we can start talking about system efficiencies, factory efficiencies, and responding and improving that, which then directly drives operating margins, which goes right back into shareholder value. And finally, looking at revenue. This is part of that product focus. How can you offer new services to your customers that open up brand new revenue streams or grow existing small revenue streams? And as you open up these new revenue streams, again, you're driving directly to shareholder value. So I would argue if you put the human at the center and then you focus on asset efficiency, operating margins, and revenues, you're going to see immediate impact of your digital transformation efforts inside your organization. And so you're probably sitting there saying, well, I agree with you, and I definitely understand the vision here. And yeah, there are some ways that I can drive value by looking at new revenue streams or asset efficiency or even my operating margins. And maybe you've even gone down that route, but you're saying, how do I scale up? How do I want to get this to the enterprise level and grow this across my organization? Well, 3 best practices. One is top down. And so what you have to do is, it's great and absolutely required that on the shop floor, we need everyone bought into this digital transformation. But to borrow a term from an old business book, we're going to move a lot of cheese through this digital transformation. And so you need that top-down sponsorship and support and push. You need those top-level executives coming in and saying that I have a long-term vision of where the organization's going. We understand and we all agree on the value that we're going to unlock here, and that we need to work as an organization together to scale this out. And continue to stay engaged as these projects go on, because they will hit rough patches, and your team will need that executive leadership to push through and the sponsorship to get other parties involved. Second, look at this holistically. So when you're going through, if you identify something small, you say, I think there's some value here. Open your vision up to the entire process. So if you find something in your manufacturing facility, go upstream and downstream from there and actually look at the entire process and how what you're doing can affect all of that. And then can you continue to grow this change out across there? Also look at the entire enterprise. Be willing to step outside your factory. Look at your design processes. Look at your support models to your customers. Look at your shipping models. Look at your quality reporting and measurement models. By looking at the entire organization and considering transforming every part of it using these digital solutions, I think that's where you're going to quickly find a roadmap to scale out across the enterprise. And you're going to hear this again and again and again from me, and we're going to repeat it again here. The key is people first. And I cannot stress this enough. A digital transformation is not really a technology transformation. The technology is there and it's ready to support this transformation. The transformation for you is really a people thing. It's about changing hearts and minds, and it's about getting people on board and ready to change the way they do business day by day and even hour by hour. And so we've given you some best practices and some of my opinions around this space. But what about people who have actually done this? What about some real world examples of people who have already followed some of these best practices and are experiencing value today? And so the first one I want to talk to you about is a company called Woodward. And so Woodward is one of the world's oldest and largest independent designers, manufacturers, and service providers of control systems and control system components in aerospace and industrial markets. And actually, they already had PLM and ERP and MES systems in place. But what they found was that they had these different systems in place, but they weren't talking to each other. Like Jordan said, a lot of organizations have some of these systems in place, and it's completely unreasonable to say you need to rip them out or replace them. But because these systems weren't talking to each other, it was almost impossible for an operator to get all of the relevant information easily and in real time. And so what Woodward did was they said, how can we create that single pane of glass? And by utilizing ThingWorx and utilizing a holistic approach, they were able to connect these systems together, and they were able to actually provide to their operators what they call an MIS, a manufacturing information system. And with that MIS system also connecting to the machines in real time, they saw that per factory, a $1.7 million cost savings, which means a rollout across 13 factories is going to be a $22 million savings. That's real value that actually brings an ROI, actually brings a reason to why Woodward is doing this digital transformation. And again, you notice that it was human first. It wasn't about putting in the technology. In fact, the technologies generally existed. It was about putting the human first and saying, how can we put these technology solutions to work easily for the people inside Woodward's organization? And how can we get the right information to the right people at the right time? And by taking that viewpoint, that's how they were able to see numbers like you see on the screen here, that 1.7 million per factory, which is, I don't think anyone would turn down such a savings. Second one I want to talk to you today about is Toyota. And Toyota has applied some of these digital transformation solutions, and in our case, applied ThingWorx, on top of some of their existing systems that they have today. And by wrapping and extending around a business challenge they had, where they had certain systems where they recognized we have large amounts of downtime that require corrective actions that are reactionary, not before the fact, not preventing downtime, but instead responding to downtime. And by focusing on that business need first, and then wrapping ThingWorx around the systems that existed, they were able to reduce downtime by 30%. Again, there's no factory in the world who would turn down a 30% reduction in downtime. That's real money. But how was that done? That was done, A, by not ripping, replacing, by wrapping around, but B, focusing on a pain point inside their factories, finding something that needed their attention, and then applying the solutions on top of that. I also want to talk to you about a CPG organization who is looking to improve their operational performance. And so in their case, they have all sorts of different homegrown applications, and this may sound familiar to some of you in your organizations, where every factory is doing something a little different. And every, a segment or group inside the organization is doing something a little different. And what that led to was confusion inside the organization. And so this company said, our goal really is we want automatic, real-time delivery of our performance data to the right time, to the right person at the right time, so that they can take action and impact the organization in a positive way. Again, that human-focused digital transformation. And they said, hey, we need to move away from these hundreds of different custom homegrown or paid for applications that exist across our organization. Instead, move to one common platform that everyone can get around, that everyone can understand and train on. And so by looking at, again, that business challenge, putting the human at the middle, they applied ThingWorx to wrap around this and provide a single point of reference, a single pane of glass that gives real-time data to the right people at the right time. And they're now experiencing 3 to 5% improvements in productivity and 15 to 20% improvements in asset reliability. Again, numbers that anyone would be more than happy to have. And each time we see these big numbers, it's not by chance that happens. It's because every time there was a focus on value and a focus on people. The last example I want to talk to you about is BAE Systems. And I love this example because whenever I talk about this example, I get to put up these huge numbers on the screen. Which is 50% improvement in tack time for assembly and 30% improvement in training. And I'll explain what that means in a little more detail here. So BAE Systems is actually, you may know them more as a company that really is looking at the defense industry, but they've broken out of that now, and they're looking at innovative new revenue streams for their organization. And one of those is the booming market of electrification of buses and what they call the hybrid drive propulsion system. And in fact, these have been so popular that they've had a 350% increase in overall orders and production needs, which is great for them. But the problem with that is, if you have a factory, is that's not something that overnight you can respond to. You can't just buy more assets to solve this great problem you have, which is, a 350% increase in production need and demand by the customer. And so BAE started looking at that challenge and saying, okay, how can we impact that challenge today? What can we do today to help us go after the problems we have? And what they recognized was that one of the most challenging parts of their operation was actually building out some of these battery systems and propulsion systems. And it's quite complicated, as I'm sure you can imagine. Such a high-tech and innovative solution, it's not easy to assemble. And of course they have assembly instructions, but they were all paper-based or PDF. So they're very static. And so with these complicated assembly processes, if you'd come in as a new operator, they'd give you these paper-based or digital paper-based training materials. And of course, then you have challenges from taking it from the 2D static world to the 3D reality that we live in. That's not easy to do, and we suffer that every day. If any of you have put together IKEA furniture, you know the pain that comes to trying to understand instructions. And that's actually, to be clear, IKEA is one of the leaders in better understanding instructions, and they've also started applying augmented reality to their instructions. So if you get some IKEA furniture now, there's AR solutions around that, because it's so difficult for humans to take that static 2D message and put it into the 3D reality we live in. And so BAE actually started applying AR through Microsoft HoloLens as well as PTC's Vuforia Studio, and they could start applying in situation 3D based training programs. And you can see the picture here with the individuals actually interacting with other virtual elements that they see inside this system that they're assembling. And what's cool about this example too is BAE really took the approach of, hey, we're not looking to become a digital company. We're not a software company. And so they partnered with PTC and Microsoft to say, how can I do this without having to become a software company? And Vuforia Studio helped them do that by actually moving the business need closer to the technology by moving up that value stack. And instead of having to create a bunch of programmers on the team, they were able to use the teams they have now to solve the business need at 1/10 of the cost that it would have been incurred if they had to custom make and home make this system. And so by putting these augmented reality solutions into training, one of the things they were able to do was improve that assembly time. So what they found is by actually involving the augmented reality in real time to the production, they're able to have that zero defect quality standard, but reduce takt time by 50%. And then what's even better is when you onboard someone new, they enter what we would call an overhead phase. They're not really bringing revenue to the organization because they're training. And so any way you can reduce that, you reduce the time from overhead to revenue generating. And by utilizing these augmented reality solutions, which provide 3D real-time in-situation training, they were able to reduce that overhead to revenue generating transition by 30%. Real business impact, and I'll go back a slide just to show that again because I love these big numbers. 50% reduction in overall assembly time, 30% reduction in the transition from overhead to revenue generating. And I want to hit this quote real quick from Fran. I'll quote him, where we created work instructions that we're able to deliver to the production floor in hours at 1/10 of the cost. Again, it's that not becoming a digital company, but actually solving the business value and having impact. And so I hope this discussion, while quick, has brought some value to you and that you found this to be a worthwhile time in some of the conversations that you've listened to today. I want to offer that if you want to keep this conversation going and you say, I absolutely am all on board, I love what I'm hearing, give me more. I want to hear more. I want to do more. I want to talk more about this. Come join us in Boston, June 10th through the 13th at LiveWorks. Huge event. Over 6,000 technologists are going to be here, 240 plus breakout sessions. I'm going to be honest, I love going to those. I learn all sorts of viewpoints. It's a customer-heavy session where you're going to see people who have actually done this. It is not a bunch of people getting up and saying, this software does this thing. It's a bunch of people like some of the examples we've talked about today where they're saying, this is what we've done. And I've always learned so much from attending this event from other people. Over 100 product demos, so you're actually going to get your hands on real-world solutions that exist that you can take back to your organization to drive value and go after those different value points inside and scale up your digital transformation. So if you're looking to join us, you can go to liveworks.com. The registration page is there. We'd love to see you in June. I know I'll be there. If you happen to be there, look me up. I'll be all over the place, so I'm sure you'll see me running around. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll move on to the next section here.
Great. Thank you, Justin. Great insights and great case examples as well. I'd now like to invite all of our speakers to unmute for the Q&A portion of our virtual conference today. We've got a forum here where you can please submit questions. They can either come in via Zoom, and they can also come in via social media channels using hashtag IIoTWorld. If we don't address them live today, we will definitely follow up with you at a later date, not too far distant into the future, to make sure that we address them and circle back. So we're going to kick off today with a series of questions. The first one I'm going to give to you, Jordan. What would you say are the most common real-time visibility use cases that customers approach PTC for? And what problems are they looking to solve?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that most commonly, customers tend to deploy use cases that are focused on the operational visibility in their manufacturing environment. This gives them visibility into a lot of their process data, such as OEE, or critical KPIs that they're looking to monitor on their lines, assets, and different production areas. Typically, a lot of customers are doing that today, either manually tracking it in Excel, or it's in a bunch of different systems, maybe an MES system, or data that they just don't have that they're trying to unify and start to get visibility into so they can make real-time changes. This gives them flexibility to monitor some of what's most critical for their business by identifying what those right KPIs are. And then it helps them identify areas that they can either look for bottlenecks or areas to improve their operations, which really helps them solve their problems of cost cutting, flexibility and time to market, and figuring out how to deploy the right resources and assets.
Got it. Thank you. So it's more of an optimization type of an opportunity for folks then. Very good. Here's a question for you, Justin. It says, in your experience, are companies approaching digital transformation with a focus on ROI, or are they more interested in survival and making sure to stay ahead of the competition?
Well, yeah, I think it's a mixture of all of the above. I think that none of these can stand on their own. And actually, I would say if you're, survival really in this new age of disruption is a steady and slow death. So everyone's looking to thrive and grow. And the way you do that is by focusing on the ROI. So as we discussed in my portion there, a lot of people are stuck in what's jokingly being called, POC purgatory, and it's because they recognize they have to move. They're getting shareholder and board pressure to move, and competitive pressure to move, and so it tends to be that they move quickly and put a blind spot accidentally towards the ROI. Those who have been successful and have moved out of that survive the disruption phase and really into the thrive and grow are the ones who have put the ROI first.
Got it. So make sure you don't throw reckless abandon and keep the nature of the business in focus too. No, that's good insight. Thank you. Let me a follow-up to that one then, Justin. How have companies that you worked with, how do they measure ROI for digital transformation initiatives? And any best practices you can recommend?
Yeah, so I would say the number one thing with ROI and measuring in your digital transformation is first step back from the technology. So instead of talking about how do we measure ROI around some technology we're trying to implement, let's go back to the beginning and understand what is the actual business challenge. And if we fully understand the business challenge and we work together and agree that this is the value we're going after, measuring the ROI becomes very easy because we've all agreed what the challenge is, where we need to grow, and that inherently comes out with the metric, and up front then we've agreed on that metric. So of the organizations we've worked with that have moved quickly and been successful and have been able to measure ROI is that they've upfront identified what the actual business need is and all agreed on that. And then the ROI metrics come very easily out of that. whether it be an OEE discussion, a first time through quality discussion, or it may even be a new revenue stream discussion. Those metrics are fairly easy to lay out if we upfront understand the value, measure the value, and understand where we need to go.
Got it.
All right, so based on what we've heard so far, Justin, if I may interrupt a little bit, there is value to be extracted from real-time visibility in operations. Can you point someone where should someone look to extract value? How do you get started with that?
Yeah, so real-time visibility in the factory is an area that's primed for value. And one of the areas I would look at is just about getting the right information to the right people at the right time. And so if you go inside a factory, I often talk about this idea of there being the Tuesday morning meeting. And anyone in manufacturing will recognize this meeting. It happens every start of shift. And what we do there is talk about all the things that happened the day before, talk about what went wrong the day before, and what we're going to do today to try to recover from that. And instead, with real-time visibility, we can move away from this idea of having reactionary meetings, which quite frankly are 24 hours too late, and instead get the right information to the right people so that they can respond in real time, with the goal being to be proactive long term. There's a lot of value just in eliminating that 24-hour or even 12-hour shift by shift reactionary cycle, reducing that to inner shift reaction times. You'll see a lot of value there alone, and so I would recommend that people look there for value. And the other is you start trying to understand where the bottlenecks exist in your facility, and you want to go through lean investigations and lean principles. Real time and full data collection is key to unlocking the value there. And so I would also recommend, you can find a lot of value in collecting this data, both for real time and for reporting purposes, to start doing lean-based activities and empower that team with even more data as they go about improving each bottleneck within your facility.
Thank you. Jordan, here's another pretty insightful question. Based on the fact that you've given us several use cases, and I'm sure there's a whole Rolodex full of other ones in your portfolio, but what are some of the low-hanging fruit in terms of a use case that scale well and can also show proof of value?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit use cases that are dependent on how your factory is set up today. So some of the low-hanging fruit use cases actually relate to some of the more common ones that we're seeing, which is focused around operational visibility. So looking at some of the data they're already collecting, such as their OEE and those critical KPIs, and doing that for operational intelligence. This is a great place to start because often many companies already have that data. They just need to start collecting it from their assets. So secondarily, the primary use case to start with is asset health monitoring. So looking at your assets and being able to pull some of the production data off of those assets and start to drive insights from that. So there's a couple of low-hanging fruit use cases that you can really scale well and show a lot of good value for. And the nice thing about working with PTC also is that we have a solution framework where we've identified some of the high-value use cases in a wrap, extend, and transform manner that allow you to leverage some of the existing systems that you have in your infrastructure today and start from use cases that are quick to deploy and scalable to help you guide on that journey through your digital transformation.
So the next question that we have is from Mahesh. Tell us, Mahesh, how do you avoid common pitfalls in an IIoT journey?
Yeah, so if you think about from our experience what we have done in this industrial IoT space is number one, the single largest pitfall we see most of the companies is focusing on random acts of digital, right? So technology alone does not translate to digital. Being digital is a part of the organizational DNA, and that's one thing which we see as a single pitfall, but we also think about from a pitfall from a solution design too, right? So so much solution design, technology, and change management. So when I talk about solution design, it's technology-driven innovation instead of issue-driven solution. That's one pitfall which we see. And then you also see that solution experimentation instead of evolution, and traditional instead of agile development for digital solutions, because it's very important to focus on from a solution design. And then on the technology side, it's pretty much a lot of times we see is over-engineered complexity, and technology design without any process redesign, right? So it goes hand in hand. And lack of considerations we see in the IIoT security space, because when you do these industrial IoT, like the IIoT is getting closer, like it's very tight now. So we see a lot of pitfalls around that, and the biggest important pitfall which you also see is around the change management, right? This unclear ownerships which you see, this siloed teams, there's a cultural conflicting between digital and innovation. Um, it's these are some common pitfalls which we see when we go through the industrial IoT journey.
All right, thank you. Now I want to grab a couple comments that you made there as a follow-up question. You said random acts of digital and also change management is a critical piece of this. So how does an ecosystem, or how does the ecosystem of an organization play a critical role in building large-scale applications?
So what we also see is like, so most of the things where we are seeing is the business driving this initiatives and these large scale transformation, right? So business wants these things, and IT is an organization which is enabling the business, and these are new technologies and new platforms which is going to be leveraged, which IT folks are not used to manage these type of things. So, and also if the ecosystem not only within the organization, it's also ecosystem of platforms and plethora of technologies you're going to use, right? Because when you're solving like a problem like a predictive maintenance, or a problem like asset intelligence, it's not one technology, right? So you've got data acquisition technology, which are one coming from the assets. Two is you put secondary sensors to it, like where your data can be analog and then needs to be converted to digital. So you need some kind of data acquisition type of technologies at the edge, and then you also have to have some kind of IoT platform, and that plays a critical role. And these platforms are going to be supporting enabling large applications, and also like the time series based data storage is also going to grow. So you're going to see a different plethora of technologies, and then these are going to combine and converge, and then these are specifically a must have for these type of transformation to evolve, right? So thinking both from within the organization and also within outside the organization, and there needs to be a clear vision and a clear ownership between IT versus operations. Otherwise, what we see is the projects keeps failing, and that's why it's the ecosystem is very important in this space.
Got it. Excellent. Well, thank you for the comments. And I think that brings us to the close of our virtual conference. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today. And stay tuned for future educational webcasts brought to you by IIoT World. Next month, we'll have the following virtual summit scheduled. Securing the Industrial IoT Ecosystem is May 8th, 2019. And Monetizing IIoT, based on use cases in the manufacturing space, scheduled for May 30th, 2019. And stay tuned for other educational series focused on topics ranging from industrial cybersecurity, or how IIoT and artificial intelligence optimize industrial operations, for later this year. Special thanks to our sponsor, PTC, for this educational session. Check out our upcoming events where our analysts will be present around the globe, and feel free to subscribe to our newsletters or YouTube channels. and follow us on Twitter at IIoT_world. This concludes our program for today. Thank you for joining.